Hello, Ramley and other NFL family, especially Bills family. Today we are talking about the Buffalo Bills. There's a lot of hype around this team. Some say they stole Von Miller from my Los Angeles Rams. Some say the Rams let him walk. But we'll talk about that in the episode, I'm sure. The Bills have an MVP caliber quarterback in Josh Allen. How are they going to recover from that heartbreaking playoff loss? We're going to talk about it on this episode of MOOF, the most overly optimistic fan in the NFL. And of course, there was no one else I would rather come on this show to talk about the Buffalo Bills than my good friend Jake. Jake, you've been a supporter of the channel for a long time. I know many of the people here see you in the comment sections. You're always here to remind the Ramley of what's happening in the Bills Mafia, and we appreciate that. So tell us a little bit, what are Bills fans optimistic about heading into this season?
I mean, what is there not to be optimistic about? I mean, you have a top five offense, obviously led by, the favorite to win MVP, Josh Allen. The defense that was number one in the league. I think you bring back 9 starters, and then you add Von Miller, who just came off winning a Super Bowl with you guys. So he's pretty good player, I would say.
Yeah, he's got some talent. Yeah,
He's got some talent. Man, it's an exciting time to be a Bills fan. Best time in my life to be a Bills fan, to be honest. It's going to be a great year. I'm feeling it. It's going to be a great year.
Okay, well, we are going to break down the Bills' schedule. For those of you watching live with us now or watching on the replay, thank you so much. Please smash that like button. And as Jake and I are going through the Buffalo Bills schedule, please, comment in the chat W if you think the Bills are going to win, or take an L if you think the Bills are going to lose. And of course, we'll have bye week hot takes when we get to the bye week. And I'm excited to talk about the Bills here, especially this first game, which is my favorite game on the Bills schedule. And Jake, I want to just caveat our viewers. So Jake and I, we talk a lot outside of YouTube. And before the schedule came out, we had a lot of debate of, they wouldn't make the Rams week 1. And then it was like, yeah, I think they're going to. No, they would. Like, it was kind of like a back and forth. Like, were they going to?
It was always tough, and the thing that kind of convinced me, I think, was when Denver and the Rams were playing on Christmas. I was like, okay, they're putting Bills Rams first.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the only other teams outside of divisional games, the only other teams that I saw that could be were Cowboys and Denver. Yeah. And it felt like the Cowboys had already done it the year before, so I didn't think they were going to do that again. Yeah. So then it just became the Bills. It became the Bills, and they made the right choice, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. This is absolutely the perfect game to start off the season with. And, friendly reminder that if you look right above Jake's head, that charity live stream where we are going to raise money to fight food insecurity around the world will be an 8-hour charity stream that day. So definitely tune in for that. But let's get to this schedule here. So first game, week 1, the Bills are coming to the beautiful SoFi Stadium to take on the defending Super Bowl champions, Los Angeles Rams. Win or lose?
So I'm looking at this game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are expecting this to be a high-scoring game. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think it will be. Okay. So the Bills obviously have obviously their offense coordinator, Brian Daboll, is gone. He went to take the Giants job. They're bringing in they're not bringing him in, but they brought their new offense coordinator is Ken Dorsey, and it's his first time being an offensive coordinator, so a little new there. And then you guys are also replacing your left tackle, Andrew Whitworth. You also have a new wide receiver, number 2, in
Robinson. Yeah.
Oh. Yes, Robinson. Thank you. So I think there could be a little adjustment for both offenses. I think both offenses will score, but at the end of the day, it's the Bills win. I think Josh Allen is slightly better than Matthew Stafford. And so I think, this is the Bills' time, and this will be a big game for them to prove it.
Okay. All right. Well, I politely disagree with you, and I'm sure we will talk a lot that day about this. But just so you guys know, it's on the internet. Jake predicted it, so and I will shout out everyone in the chat. Thank you, Grandizer12, for moderating as always. Brandon on the go. Good to see you, my friend. Yes, Rams, absolutely. And Grandizer
Hauser.
Yeah. Grandizer does say that the Bills will take an L there, so let's remember that. And now, to be fair, Grandizer is a Dolphins fan, so.
Okay. Wow.
But after that, so the Bills starting off, kind of an interesting start to the schedule. Your first home opener is a Monday night game, but it's at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time, I guess, for a doubleheader that night, I'm assuming. But you are welcoming the Tennessee Titans to town, win or lose.
We've played the Titans the past 2 years, and they've both been losses.
Oh.
I will say the first Titan loss was a whole COVID situation where the game got rescheduled and then rescheduled again, and I think got rescheduled a third time and ended up being a Tuesday night game. Last year we were, one slip away from winning the game, so it was kind of a toss-up game. But I look at the Titans this year. They lose AJ Brown. They obviously could bring in Treylon Burks, but already reports are coming in that he's out of shape, and that's not usually a good thing. We got the extra rest. I'm wondering if I don't know how much more Derrick Henry, like how much more load Derrick Henry can take, and for that reason, I'm saying Tennessee. This is a victory for the Tennessee Titans.
Okay, starting off
or not. Sorry, for the Bills, not the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, sorry. I assumed it. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. So that's 2-0 for the Bills, and Grandizer agrees with you. And then your first divisional matchup in week 3, you travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Grandizer's listening. What are you thinking, Jake?
What I'm thinking, Dolphins have a solid team. But I feel like the past 2 years, they've gone they've been over 500 both years, basically. They've had a solid team over the past 2 years. Josh Allen, for his career, is 7-1 against the Dolphins. His one loss came in his rookie year, and it was only because Charles Clay, a tight end, dropped a touchdown in the end zone.
Wow.
So he has dominated the Dolphins. His I think his only 400 game of his career came against the Dolphins. I think that trend continues, and I think that's a win.
Okay. So that's a 3-0 start. And Grandizer, thank you for that comment. Jake, I don't know why it does appear your sound might be going in and out a bit. So it seems if you sit still, it's going okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Yeah. Grandizer comes in hot with a comment. Yes, thank you, Brian Flores, for not doing a better game.
I don't think it was necessarily Brian Flores' fault. I thought he was a good coach. It's just, a great offense beats great defense. That's kind of how it is.
Well, he does agree with you on this one. It's a win for the.
Wow, is that a realistic fan? What is going on?
Oh, Grandizer's one of the coolest dudes on the internet.
Okay.
So Bills off to a 3-0 start, and then they travel to Baltimore. And I love the idea of seeing Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen early in the year. Why is this a 1:00 game on a Sunday afternoon? I don't know. But you're going to Baltimore, take on the Ravens, win or lose.
So here's what I'm looking at. Baltimore's gotten a lot of praise for their offseason. I think they've made 2 questionable picks, or 2 questionable moves, I guess. One, probably a lot of people will also agree with. The other, probably people are not going to agree with. The one that most people are not going to agree with is I don't like the Kyle Hamilton pick. And let me explain why. Kyle Hamilton, he is not he's not fast and he's not agile. And I seriously doubt his ability to be able to play the deep part of the field in zone coverage. And especially against great quarterbacks we've seen recently, if to really slow those guys down, you need to be able to play too high safety. If Kyle Hamilton can't do that, you're putting your corners in really difficult spots where they have to cover, Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs for entire games, and that's just asking to get beat deep. So I think the offense could do really well against this defense, even though it's a pretty talented defense. So if it is going to be a shootout, the other problem they have is they got rid of their best receiver, Marquise Brown, and they did not replace him. He was a 1,000-yard receiver last year. I saw something that if in the games Lamar Jackson played, had that been 17 games, he would have had 12 or 1,300 yards. So he's having a really good season. But their receiving, like the top of their receiving core right now, is Rashad Bateman, who was a first-round pick, showed a little bit, but he's still a young player. We don't know. Devin Duvernay, don't know who that is. And James Proach the second, I think. That's how you say that.
Not necessarily your household names for receivers.
No, they combined for a career. They have 1,100 yards. So these are not guys. This is not a team that I think that wants to get in the shootout. And I think with our offense being able to score against them, I think this is a win.
Okay. All right. So Bills starting off 4-0. Everyone's, putting them number one in their power rankings. They have a couple of big wins in there. And then they have their second home game of the year where you welcome the Pittsburgh Steelers to town, win or lose.
So
and I will give a quick shout out here. Redder for the Steelers fan is in the chat, so he's watching.
So I've gone back and forth on Pittsburgh. I was looking at the roster earlier today and like it's a pretty good, like defensively they're solid all around. They obviously have the Watt brother, TJ Watt, on the outside, and he's a game wrecker. Mm-hmm. Their offense, they improved the offensive line a bit. The question is at quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, this is a quarterback league. And really you're choosing between Mitch Trubisky, who was our backup last year, so we're gonna know him pretty well. Or Kenny Pickett, a rookie quarterback who I was not high on coming out of college. So for that reason, just because I don't trust their quarterbacks, I gotta go win.
Okay. Yeah, you're off to a 5-0 start, and then the Bills. You have a lot of home game or a lot of away games early this year. I see. Yeah. You're going on the road for that divisional round rematch, and again, criminal that this is not a Sunday night game. Where the Bills will take on the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Can the Bills get revenge?
Well, so actually, the reason this isn't a night game is because CBS gets to protect one game where basically it can't become a night game. They chose this game, and I think we all know why. I mean, that divisional game was legendary. It was an incredible game, one of the best playoff games, the best playoff game I've ever seen, one of the best playoff games of all time. Yeah. And there's definitely a revenge for the Bills here. This is Kansas City. They've beaten us twice in the playoffs now. Like we went there last year, obviously, and won in the regular season. But we're going to go out and I think do it again. I think this is a win. They've lost Tyreek Hill. That's a huge loss for their offense. I know they've replaced them with some good receivers, but there's going to be a transition period. They lost Charvarius Ward. They replaced him with a rookie. They lost Melvin Ingram. They replaced him with a rookie. So again, defense may be downgrading a bit. They also lost Tyrann Mathieu. And so I think just talent-wise, this should be a win for the Bills.
Okay. So Bills are starting off 6-0, and they're probably ranked near the top of everyone's power rankings. And then they're going into the bye week, which means it's time for
Bye Week Hot Takes. The hottest takes on the bye week.
Yes. This is time for bye week hot takes, which, if you have not watched this show before, whenever we get to the bye week, we have 3 hot takes that I have found from all corners of the internet, mainly Twitter, Reddit, and the random Facebook groups here and there. And I kind of look for hot takes with some weight to them. They're not totally out of left field, but they're interesting. Jake has not seen these hot takes. He is going to be reacting raw to them, if he agrees, if he disagrees, and how much weight is behind these hot takes here. And I will say this: the Bills were actually a team that was tougher to find specific hot takes for. But these 3 hot takes, I do find them interesting, and I'm excited to get your thoughts on them. So the first one being, the Bills' defense will rank higher than their offense this season. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because it's tough to be the top-ranked defense 2 years in a row.
It is very tough to be the top-ranked defense 2 years in a row. Like, the thing is, I think both our offense and our defense can be the number 1 team in the league. Like, they're both talented enough. I think I give the edge to the defense a little bit because of the addition of Von Miller. The offense, we had a few losses, but I think we mostly replaced them. I think Gabe Davis is due for a big year. But overall, I think I'd almost agree with this. I think so.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Okay, cool. I will give a shout out to CG Ruthless Sports. Good to see you. And Grandizer said Jake is nervous. It's okay. Oh, you gotta love the hot takes coming in here. And then let's see here. The next hot take, and Grandizer and Jets mess. I'm sorry if you don't like this one, but the Bills will sweep the AFC East this year. Think about it.
So here's my thought.
Yeah.
It totally depends. Because if the last game of the year is obviously New England, if the Bills have nothing to play for, that might be a loss. Like, that might be a loss because we're playing our 3rd, 4th, 5th stringers, and so yeah, the Patriots are going to win there. If not, I mean, it's hard to see them really losing a game. I mean, they went 5-1 last year. Remember, I think the second Miami game was kind of close in the first half. Bills kind of blew them out in the second. The first New England game, I mean, it was literally a windstorm that got them the win. I mean, Patriots really didn't. I don't want to say they didn't earn it, but like they got a little lucky with the windstorm coming to give them the win. So, I mean, this is a very this is a very real thing that could happen. It depends on that, whether we're playing for something in that last game.
Okay. All right. Well, it's again, you love to see some hot takes like this. And this is the last one, which I always try to make it the juiciest here. The Bills' biggest concern this season is their coaching staff. More so than quarterback, defense, running backs, wide receiver. Like, in a Bills fan, take us inside the head of a Bills fan. What is the biggest concern on your mind headed into this season, besides injuries, obviously?
This is second. To me, this is the second biggest concern. My biggest concern is the offensive line.
Okay.
We made some changes, and I'm still kind of like, did we do enough? Should we have drafted? So offense line for me is the biggest concern. I get where this is coming from. It's the last 13 seconds. Let's be real. That will be broken down and it's a mark on Sean McDermott's legacy forever. But I mean, look at honestly, I have so much love for Sean McDermott. You look at where the Bills were. He came in 2017. Immediately, first of all, we immediately made the playoffs. We ended the streak. Then he brings in I guess the GM brought in Josh Allen, but they developed Josh Allen. We've been to the playoffs for the last 5 years. Yeah, 4 of the last 5 years. So sure, it's our second concern, but like it's not a huge concern to me.
Okay. And we'll add in this hot take here because Grandizer's being amazing in the chat today. He's saying, if the Bills don't get to the Super Bowl, who is on the hot seat?
Yeah, then it's Sean McDermott's on the hot seat. If they fail in the playoffs again, if they come short in the playoffs again, then there becomes a question about whether he's a coach who can really get us over the hump. Yeah, I mean, it also depends on how the offense does, because if the offense sputters, then maybe you got to think about, okay, well, Ken Dorsey didn't really work out. Maybe we got to bring in some new blood.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been
Bye Week Hot Takes. The hottest takes on the bye week.
Yes, love bye week hot takes. And so tune in next episode when we will continue to talk about more hot takes on the bye week. Back to the schedule. Jake has the Bills going 6-0 going into the bye week. And then you get a matchup. You welcome to Buffalo. It's a home game, prime time Sunday night football. The Green Bay Packers, which the Rams would really love for the Bills to win this game. Are you going to make the Ramley happy, Jake?
Well, I guess I kind of got it now with that pressure.
Yeah.
Obviously, coming off the bye, teams love coming off the bye. You hit an extra week to prepare, an extra week of rest. And I mean, Green Bay, who's their wide receiver right now? They're the guy they picked, Christian Watson, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Apparently has having drop troubles in practice. We saw with Jamar Chase that could be nothing, but it's a problem, and they don't have a lot of receiving talent I see out there, and I think because of that, the Bills' offense being as good as it is, will be able to outscore them.
Okay, yeah. So you're giving a win. I see Grandizer in the chat is also giving the Bills a W there. Which
nicest Dolphin fan I've ever met. Jeez.
Oh, he. I have a couple of nice Dolphins fans that subscribe to this channel. Yeah.
Okay.
But 7-0 to start off the year, and then you travel to New Jersey to take on the division rivals, the darling of the draft, the New York Jets. Win or lose.
Okay, so I want to say something about their draft, because this has bugged me a little bit. Okay, they get Sauce Gardner at number 4. Mm-hmm. Everyone's like, oh, that's such a great pick. I was like, yeah, but that's what you're expected to do at number 4. You're expected to get, one of the best corners in the draft. So why is that such a big, I guess it's a big surprise because it's the Jets and we always expect them to screw it up somehow. But like that, okay, fine. It's a good pick. I wouldn't call it a great pick. Then they take Garrett Wilson, another really great receiver. But at number 10, again, are we expecting them to, take, I don't know. To me, their draft was just overhyped. It felt like people were just shocked the Jets didn't totally screw it up. And I honestly.
Well, they had 3 first-round draft picks that they ultimately.
First-round draft picks. You got 3 first-round talents. Why is that completely shocking? And I honestly, I didn't like the Breece Hall pick. I think they had bigger holes on their team than running back. So I'm not really a fan of that pick. But on to the game now.
Yeah.
And the Jets did get more talented. The one place that I'm a little more concerned, I'm not concerned, Jet fans should be concerned, is that offensive line. So their left tackle is George Font right now. He's been okay, but he's not great. Laken Tomlinson's coming from the 49ers. He's pretty good, but again, And then Connor McGovern is your center, another guy who's just kind of okay. A lot of people are very high on Elijah Vera Tucker. He didn't have a great rookie season, so I'm not really sure about that one. And then Mickey Becton, I think, is their right tackle. And again, a guy who's not really lived up to his draft hype, has not been great. So if that's what you're putting in front of Zach Wilson, that's a problem. Like I mean, in our second game with him last year, we sacked him 9 times, and you only mildly improved your offensive line. That's a huge problem for me, and I think the Jets are going to suffer from that a bit. I also don't think, Zach Wilson is the next Joe Burrow who can survive getting sacked 50 times and still be able to win 10 games. So for that reason, I think this is another win for the Bills.
Okay, cool. And I will give a shout out to Tribe here. He's saying all the powers in the AFC. Yeah, there's a lot of talent in the division or in the conference for sure.
There's legitimately, like he said, like there's legitimately like 10 teams that can convince themselves, we have a chance at the Super Bowl. That's ridiculous. Like, that's insanity.
I know. I love being in the NFC.
I know.
Anyway, we're not talking about the Rams here, even though it's all about it's the Rams league. Everyone else is playing it right now.
Oh, okay.
Headed to so that's 8-0 that you are predicting the Bills to start off with, and then one of the teams that has been tough to predict. I felt like last year when we did this series, they were tough to predict. I feel like they're even harder this year because they have a new coaching staff and they do have a talented team. You are welcoming the Minnesota Vikings to Buffalo. Can you take on the Vikings and win?
Minnesota's a fascinating team because you look at their offense, you go, man, like that's a talented offense. Like they got a pretty good offensive line, a lot of playmakers. And for as much slack as Kirk Cousins gets, he's still a good quarterback. Like he's still a solid guy. Defensively, they're not as good defensively. They got a few guys up front, Daniel Hunter and Zadarius Smith. I mean, Zadarius Smith's coming off a year where he only played 1 game, so it's kind of what's he going to be? The big question for them is their secondary, especially their corners. So right now they have Patrick Peterson, who I think is going to turn 33 before the season. So he's kind of over the hill, and hasn't played up. He's more, a recognizable name more so than actual production on the field at this point. Their second corner is Cameron Dantzler. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's close. It's close. Solid player, but he's not a good matchup against Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
The wild card for me is Andrew Booth because I was pretty high on him coming out of Clemson. He before the draft came out, he had, I can't remember exactly, but he had some injury. So he fell down the boards. Minnesota picked him up. I think that's a good pick. I don't know how much the offseason he's gonna work. If he's even gonna play like the entire season. So again, I think this becomes a shootout, and I think because Trey White's obviously going to be back from injury. I think our rookie cornerback is better, and he's going to have a whole off season of workout. I think because our cornerbacks are just a bit more talented, I think we get the win here.
Okay. So you're at 9-0. Everyone's freaking out. The Bills are on this, brigade to try and do the perfect season, even though there's 17 games now. And then after the Vikings, you get to take on and the just mess of a franchise right now. I don't want to hate on the Browns too much here because they're going through a bunch. But
I think you should.
You know what? You welcome the Cleveland Browns to Buffalo. We don't know who's going to be quarterback.
There's 24 questions about this franchise.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Do you think the Bills will be in any possible state of mind where this could be a trap game for them?
It could be. It could be, especially personally, I expect Watson to be out at least for the year. Like he's got to be suspended, I think, for at least the year. So that kind of leaves them with Jacoby Bersett. We've seen Jacoby Bersett for the most part, and for the most part, he's fine, but you're not betting on him to bring you anywhere, that positive. So this might be a game of where we're kind of overlooking it. We don't really have a tough game after this, but it could be a game we kind of overlook. But even if they have Watson, I do kind of question their wide receiver depth. Amari Cooper was okay last year. He's another guy. He's good. I don't think he's great. Peoples-Jones, another good receiver. But outside of those two, they don't really have a ton of weapons. So I think even with Watson, I think this would be a win. But expecting him to be gone, I think this is definitely a win.
Okay, yeah. And just for Grandizer, really interesting point here. You said if Watson never plays again, wonder if the NFL will try and compensate the Browns. Yeah, it's a very unprecedented
They should not.
situation.
They should not. They have dug their own grave. You did this to yourself. You gave him $230 million guaranteed. You have to deal with the consequences of your actions.
No,
that's what I believe.
I don't disagree with that, but I also will add, that it came out today that the Texans had aided in Watson's kind of off the field stuff without going into details about it, right? So that's kind of a mess, and not that they should just reverse the trade or anything, like it happened. But it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
I mean, probably nothing will happen to the Texans because they'll say, "Oh, we never knew anything," and there won't be any concrete evidence that they did. But yeah, they knew. Come on, they knew even before this came out, they would have known something was going on. It's a whole terrible situation. It's a black eye on the NFL. Yeah. And honestly, if I was the NFL, I would just want to get this out of the way and just try and get them to focus on literally anything else.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Aaron Donald contract got announced the same day as the 24th court case against him. But anyway, PR nightmares aside, let's get back to it. You got a short week here. Thanksgiving, yes. First off, I always like to ask whoever's playing on the Thanksgiving, are you excited to watch the Bills on Thanksgiving as they take on the Jared Goff-led Detroit Lions?
I am. It's always fun to see your team on a national stage. My dad has actually talked about possibly going to this game, but us actually going to this game. It would be my first game where my first Bills game on the road. I've been to, I guess it's New Era Stadium now, or what is it? I don't even know what it is now. But I've never been a road fan, so that would be interesting for me. As far as Detroit goes, they have a really talented offense. If you look at their depth chart on offense, they got a great offensive line. They got Penny Sewell, Taylor Decker. Can't remember their center's name, but he's really good. So talented offensive line. Receiving talents. I love the pick of Jameson Williams. Yeah. I think he's going to be a star in the NFL, and it might take him some time to recover from the ACL, but I think he'll come back strong, especially later in the year for them. They got running backs. TJ Hawkinson is their tight end. This is a super talented offense, except quarterback. Jared Goff, he's a fine quarterback. Yeah, but fine doesn't win a lot of games in the NFL.
Jake, you do not need to describe Jared Goff for this channel. Yeah, we know.
Very true. Very true. I mean, I will say this is probably the most talented offense he's had since, I guess, you guys went probably to the Super Bowl.
He's always had Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and a decent O-line. The 2019 year, we had a lot of injuries with him.
Yeah.
It's definitely a step up from last year. Like the Lions were just so injured at the receiver position last year, and they were a young team developing. I don't think there's a football fan out there that would say the Lions got worse this offseason.
No, they definitely didn't.
Yeah.
The other side of the ball is still kind of a mess for them. Jeff Okuhonda, or what? I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce Okudu.
Okuda, yeah.
Has never really worked out for them. Really, their only guy who I'm like all worried about is Aiden Hutchinson. He's still a rookie though, so I think expecting him to produce too much is a bit too much. I think for that reason, Detroit, it's a win for the Bills.
Okay. I will shout out, former Ram Michael Brockers is also there, who put up a solid numbers last year, but whatever. And Grandizer is actually predicting an upset game. He's saying Bills at Motor City. We're going to hear him out here because Grandizer's been amazing. He says Bills play in New England next, division rival game. That game is more important. Lions always seem to play hard on Thanksgiving Day. Interesting rationale.
It's not entirely. It's plausible. Like it's a plausible thing. The Bills lost to Jacksonville last year. Like we're not immune to kind of sleeping on a team.
Yeah.
But this is most optimistic fan.
Yeah.
So even if it's 50-50, I gotta say it's a win because I'm gonna be optimistic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're definitely optimistic. You have the Bills 10-0, and then once again in the bizarre, this is a weird schedule. Wow. You play on the following Thursday night primetime game against, as Grandizer said, the New England Patriots in New England. Win or lose?
So we played New England 3 times last year.
Right.
One first game was a windstorm. I think we can throw that out. That's why I'm just going to throw that game out. The other 2 games, I believe the Bills punted 0 times.
Wow.
New England did not really force them to punt the ball. And then you look at their defense, they lost JC Jackson. They replaced him with a 3rd-round rookie. And they lost Kyle Van Noy, and I didn't see them really replace him at all. Their offense also, I think, got a little worse when they got rid of Shaq Mason on the offensive line. And so I just don't see that offense being able to keep up with the Bills, especially if the New England's defense takes a step back. So for that reason, it's a W.
Okay. So you have the Bills at an 11-0 start, and I got to give a shout out to Daniel. Good to see you, as always. And Grandizer's agreeing with you that the Bills are going to take out the Patriots there, handle their business, and then you, for the second time, will face the New York Jets in Buffalo this time. Win or lose, are you going to sweep the Jets?
Yeah, we'll sweep the Jets. So a lot of Jets fans, I should say, have compared Zach Wilson to Josh Allen. And fine, let's give him that comparison. But Josh Allen in his second year, he was a good quarterback. He had not become the Josh Allen we know today.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs, but mostly on the back of a great defense. I do not see the Jets having a great defense. They're young. They're probably going to play very hard, but I don't see it being, a top 10 unit. I think they finished 32nd, or I think they definitely finished bottom 5 in the league last year in defensive yards and points. So to expect that really to lead your team would be way too much. This team is at least another year away. I had something, but I lost it. So I think this is a win. Also, because we were playing on the Thursday before, we get an extra couple days to prepare, extra couple days to rest. This should be a win.
Okay, so you had the Bills to a 13-0 start here, and then you travel. Nope, you stay at home and you take on the Miami Dolphins for the second time. Do you have a win or a loss here?
So the big question around the Dolphins' offense this year, I talked a bit about their defense, but big question about their offense is, can Tua push the ball down the field?
Yep.
They obviously got Tyreek, and he is a weapon. The thing about Tyreek, and the reason he was so effective last year in Kansas City, especially underneath, was because people were so terrified of him, going over the top and scoring touchdowns. So you had to kind of play off him, and he could go underneath. If Tua doesn't prove he can push the ball down the field consistently, teams aren't gonna fear that, and they're gonna come up and they're gonna play him tighter to the line. That could make it a lot tougher for him, and I really don't see Tua being able to open the field up like that. So for that reason, this is another win.
Okay. All right. Well, you have them to a 14-0 start. There's a lot of pressure that, if they're at this point, every team's going to bring their best A game here. That, it's and you got a couple of games left on the schedule here. So let's see here. We're in week 16. You're traveling to Chicago to take on the Bears. This is your last NFC matchup of the year. Win or lose, and I do see Grandizer predicting a tie versus the Dolphins last week.
Okay, interesting. Chicago, man, I just really feel bad for Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Like this offseason, they really haven't helped him at all. In the draft, they took with their first two picks, they took two defenders rather than helping him on offense.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like they're setting him up to fail. And that's just that's the worst. Their offensive line is still looks like trash. Their left tackle is a second rounder, a second year guy named Tevin Jenkins, who I remember, Brett Coleman, who I'll talk about again in a second. Brett Coleman did a whole piece on him. I think it was Brett Coleman. Did a whole piece on him and how he's going to be a great guard in the NFL. And they're playing him at left tackle. That's a problem. I feel really bad for Justin Fields. This is a win.
Okay, so you have the Bills 15-0, Jake, going into week 17. And Grandizer says Chicago cold game, doesn't matter, Bills win. And shout out to the football fanatic. Good to see you. And so we're 15-0, and I will remind our viewers that last year Jake did predict the Bills to go. I believe it was 16-0.
Nope, 16.
And then he lost the last week of the season. And so you can go watch that if you're interested in seeing him last year. But Jake, once again, you're being optimistic. I love it. So 15-0, and then you take on the defending AFC champions on Monday Night Football. This could be a really good game, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The Cincinnati Bengals, win or lose.
See, the problem with this game is at this point, the Bills are going to have nothing to play for. So I'm going to say this is their first loss of the season. I was going to say win, but I just decided, you know what, we'll make this their one loss. I can't say that they'll lose to the next team, but this will be their one loss. Cincinnati, obviously coming off a Super Bowl run. I've seen a lot of people say had the Bills beaten Kansas City, they would have beaten Bengals. I obviously, as a Bills fan, I believe that myself. I think Cincinnati will have something to prove here. I think they'll also have something to play for, a little bit more motivation for them. They'll get the win.
They've had a good offseason. Yeah.
I will say they didn't improve their secondary as much as I would like. I feel like they took, with their first 2 picks in the draft, they took 2 rookies who I think would better fit as safeties rather than corners. And their defense last year was kind of just okay. It was 17th in points and 18th in yards, 26th in yards in passing yards. So their defense wasn't great last year, and I honestly haven't seen any significant improvements on that side of the ball. So if the Bills were playing for something, this is a win. They're not, and I think the Cincinnati will be. So I think this is a loss for the Bills.
Okay, and the dream of the perfect season falls short in Week 17 on primetime Monday Football.
We'll just have to do with the Super Bowl.
But final week of the year, you are taking on those pesky New England Patriots. Are you going to be able to sweep the Patriots this year for the first time in a long time?
We did it 2 years ago, so I don't know how long.
2 years ago? Oh, sorry, I'm thinking back to the Brady days. Never mind, my bad.
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, with Cam, I forgot about that. My apologies. I forget about that year with Cam.
Yeah, I think a lot of Patriot fans want to forget that year as well. Yeah, I'll say win because I hate the Patriots. But yeah, they're going to take a step back this year. I don't think this will be a game that either team is really playing for anything. So our backups beat their backups. I have some questions about Mac Jones, though. I think for him this year, like, he has to prove, because last year he played really well when things were on schedule, when things were working. So when the run game was working and he was in 2nd and 5, great quarterback. The problem came when he's down 14. You know, he needs to be able to open the offense, and you need to be able to pass the ball. He couldn't do that, and we saw that in the wild card game against us. When they asked him to do more and to open the offense, he struggled a lot. And really, until a couple, garbage time touchdowns, he really didn't do anything against us. And so I think this is a win for the Bills. There's also no love loss here between the Bills, no love loss between the Bills and the Patriots.
That's fair enough. Well, Jake, that was a lot of fun. So your final prediction of the year is 16-1. That is very optimistic. But I think
most optimistic. It's most optimistic.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, the Bills, they're gonna be one of the contenders this year. I don't think there's a realistic football fan on the planet that would say, "Oh yeah, the Bills, they're not ready to contend for a Super Bowl." No, they do that. And when you're ready to contend for a Super Bowl, you're gonna win some games. And so they do play some big games there. I think some of the trap games, I will say, I do think that that Lions game on Thanksgiving could be a sneaky trap game. With Green Bay, you never know with Aaron Rodgers if he does decide to, go MVP, light it up.
Yeah.
The
like
case
there's a few games where it's like it's 50-50 whether they're going to come out. Being optimistic, obviously, 50-50, you're going to go with the win.
No, that's fair. And of course, I do think the Bills are going to start off 0-1 myself, but
Well, we can disagree on that.
Yeah.
I will say about the Detroit game, it's a young roster. It's a short week, so they're not going to have as much time to prepare. That, I think, gives the edge to a more veteran-laden team, a team like the Bills, who again have more veterans. So it is a trap game, but like, I don't know. I think it's not, maybe not as trappy as people might think.
Okay,
that's a word.
No, that's fair. I got to give a shout out to Grandizer, who's been amazing in the chat all episode here, saying his prediction is 12-4-1 for the Bills, which is still a great record. Very interesting prediction.
Couldn't let us get a sweep of the Dolphins.
And then he's saying, Jake, I know you're joking, but I am an objective and realistic fan. I don't drink the Kool-Aid like most fan bases do. I've been correct about the Finns record for over a decade, Seth. Oh.
Here's what I'll say to that. So 3 years ago, obviously you didn't have the channel yet, but going into that season, I was like, I think the Bills will go 10-6 this year. They went 10-6. The next year, I said, you know what? I think they'll improve again. They'll go 12-4. They went 13-3. So like, I'm obviously being optimistic. I'm obviously saying, they're going to win, 16 games, which is a lot of wins. But because we're being the most optimistic, games that I might say, well, they could lose this game. No, they're going to win because I'm being optimistic here.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And really, one last thing. There's no roster in the NFL that I would say is definitively better than the Bills. You can make arguments about this roster, that roster, but I don't think there's one that you can 100% say is better than the Bills.
Okay. I respect that. Well, Jake, this has been a lot of fun. And anyone watching, thank you so much for tuning in. He's got the helmet. Jake, give me your Super Bowl prediction right here on June 7th, 2022. Who's playing in the Super Bowl next year?
Bills and Rams.
Bills Rams Super Bowl. We're predicting.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep. No, I agree.
I think the Bills. I feel like it's the team of destiny. We've come off two hard losses in the playoffs. So, like, to me, it's got to be their time. The Rams. I don't know. I don't see another team in the NFC as good as them. So I feel like they'll have a much easier time than the AFC this year.
Yeah, it'll be nice to be back-to-back champs. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on, Jake. Hang around. We'll chat a little bit afterwards. And for you watching at home, thank you so much for tuning in to MOOF. Our next episode will be Thursday night, where we are going to be talking with Jay in the Bay, who is a 49ers content creator, and we're going to break down the 49ers schedule. So you'll definitely want to tune into that Thursday night. And I got one more question here from Grandizer for Jake, saying, does Jake have a circle the wagon dance? We'll have to get that.
We'll have to do that. I'll have to get a circle the wagon dance.
Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody, especially Grandizer. You've been amazing. Have a great night, and we will see you in the next episode.